a myriad of beach bunnies, honky-tonk restaurants, and an ever-increasing amount of apartments and hotels, this could be anywhere. Gran Canaria, Miami, even the Riviera. But it isn't Palm Beach, or even the Riviera. This is the Black Sea in Bulgaria. It has become a hotbed of investment for many countries over the recent years, making it a popular destination for many Irish holidaymakers. However, Irish interest in Bulgaria goes back long before this country ever became an emerging economic power within the European Union. Way back. Dear Mr. Kisyov, dear ladies and guests, for me it is a pleasure to say welcome.
In just over 2 weeks' time, Irish and Bulgarian, two of the ancient languages of Europe, will become official languages of the European Union. And I'm delighted that the unveiling of Ireland's contribution to Sofia's Home on the Wall project coincides with Bulgaria's EU accession.
Language is any culture's primary method of communication. Our first link with Bulgaria involves the two brothers Cyrill and Methodius, who gave Bulgaria and the greater Slavic world the written alphabet of Cyrillic.
Saint Cyrill is buried in San Clamente in Rome, which for over 300 years has been looked after by Irish priests. And every year, of course, there are celebrations or commemorations in San Clamente, attended by people from Bulgaria, including the Bulgarian government. So it is, it's perhaps a tenuous link, but it is a very real one. Father Maluli, who was prior of San Clamente in the 19th century, excavated in the foundations of San Clamente, and this is when the tomb was rediscovered. Of course, to Bulgarians is of great importance because Cyrill and Methodius represent really the foundation of Bulgarian culture. We brought 30 Bulgarians to Rome. We stayed in the Irish College where we were made to feel very welcome. We went not only to San Clamente but also to Santa Maria Maggiore, which was the Pope celebrated Mass with the Slavonic scriptures on the altar, which was a sign of the acceptance of Slavonic, or Old Bulgarian, as one of the official languages of the Church, so along with Greek and Latin and Hebrew. So again, this is something of, I think, particularly to Bulgarians, of huge symbolic importance.
In the 3rd century BC, a Celtic kingdom with its capital Tylos, now present-day Tulovo, near Kazanlak, in central Bulgaria, existed on Thracian soil. Although the Celts have not left us any written history, traces of their traditions can be found in Bulgarian art and music.
Неосъзнато е започнало моето пеене. Мой баща е пял, значи има малко основа.
Everything started quite unintentionally with my singing. My father was singing. That means that there was a base. But he was killed in the Second World War when my mother was pregnant with my younger brother.
Назад след мене.
But I was always singing, on the road and in the yard. My father was singing and playing the chant. And our neighbour was saying to my mother, "That child is like her father, she's going to keep singing." After that, my mother was chasing me and telling me, "Be quiet, only when you're asleep you're not singing." But it came naturally from within me.
There's the cry of joy, of jubilation, the cheer in a way. And there's also the cry of grief, which is terribly universal. That kind of a cry, what we call in Ireland the queena, or the keen, to give it this kind of English equivalent name, which it basically is the voice of lamentation, which is through history, in all cultures, all times, and always will be as long as the human race exists. Now, why should there be similarities? For example, if you hear similarities in Bulgarian keening, as we would call it, or the music of lamentation, or the cry, and Irish, or anywhere else for that matter, I think because we're all responding to the same thing, and we're responding to the same thing with the same instrument.
Many of you may know that the famous track on the early Planksty albums, the Bulgarian Macedonian set. Not just people of my generation, but also of a younger generation who have rediscovered the sound of Planksty. And I suppose that was the first indication of the initial fascination of the Irish traditional music mind with the music of Bulgaria.
My first exposure, interestingly, to Bulgarian music was in the early 1970s. I was involved in the University College Cork, where I was a student of the composer Sean O'Riordan. And when I was there, Cork is famous for its choirs and its choral festival. It has an international choral festival now, which is more than 60 years old. And it's truly international. And of course, Eastern European choirs are absolutely wonderful. They're very linked to the earth. They're very linked actually to their own folk traditions. So, I mean, I remember the first time seeing a Bulgarian choir from Sofia or wherever, and all 80 of them had come to Cork. And they'd kind of trooped on stage and just stood there. The conductor came out, as, it's in that tradition. And the next minute, the whole 80 of them were rocking, man. They were rocking. The travels of the famous Andy Irvine as a troubadour, in a way, in his young years, and still a troubadour in Eastern Europe, was part of the cause of instruments, an instrument like the bouzouki coming back. Now, Andy obviously heard a great deal of music at that time, and like the true musician that he is, would have embodied that music, taken it into himself. So he came back with tunes. And then, of course, he fell in with Planksty. Planksty happened, a really watershed of a group. And the tune and tunes started to permeate the others. So suddenly you had Liam O'Flynn, and suddenly the pipes were in it.
For sure, there's some common historical layers of, if you think of Europe as a culture area, you tend to think of it as nation states, but in some ways it's a big culture area with a lot of diversity within it. And there are some kind of pan-European levels of culture and shared music, ways of making music. From the very oldest are kind of pastoral, shepherd associated instruments, which persist strongly in places like Bulgaria with gaida and bagpipes. The Irish bagpipe is is a particularly special. It's a particular kind of bagpipe that reflects much more 19th century technology and the kind of music that they were trying to play on it at that time, as opposed to the Bulgarian gaida, which is your sort of quintessential shepherd's instrument.
Any country that is close to the land, that has a strong peasant tradition, also has a strong folk tradition, and this expresses itself in music and dance. And I think one thing Ireland and Bulgaria have in common is strong traditions in folk music and folk dance.
To my surprise, I suddenly realised that one of our own students, Noel Lennon, who is a postgraduate student doing the MA in Ethnomusicology, was actually right engaged smack in the middle of a project of Irish musicians learning Bulgarian tunes.
we're now 30 to 40 years into the Bulgarian sound, shall we say, in the Irish body, embodied by Irish musicians. And you hear the odd Bulgarian tune maybe popping up at a session, which is the biggest compliment Ireland can offer to Bulgaria, is to hear a Bulgarian tune popping up at an Irish session. Because it means that the Irish mind has taken the sound of Bulgaria to its heart, literally. That the Irish mind has taken the sound of Bulgaria to its heart. And music is wonderful like that. It's subversive of cultures. It changes cultures from beneath. And where that has led everybody, of course, you have the pinnacle of that in terms of stage success with Riverdance. And Bill Whelan, of course, Bill was part of Planxty for a time, and as I understand it, and this would I think be his own analysis as well, it becomes inspirational for the creation of new music. It's not Bulgarian music, it's Irish music. It's Irish because he's Irish. It's global music, it's human music, but it informs the urgency of Riverdance. And it's very dance music, of course, and it invites a response. People like Michael Flatley and others later, Gene Butler, Colin Dunn, and others, Brandon de Galli, and other people were directly involved in the response to that seeded Bulgarian sound.